she won the event in a crazy fashion, right? Winning next to Tia-Clair Toomey is insane.
Yeah, if you told a young 13-year-old kid who just started CrossFit that this is where it would be, I probably wouldn't have believed you till a few years later, we could say.
All right, day 2. You can see that there's a line of people over here getting ready to go inside. We're gonna have to go through that line to get inside too. So it might take a second, but we'll be there for event 1. Men are first. It is the run, which has been made longer, deadlifts with the axle bar, and then we have handstand walking. And the handstand walk is a little bit longer in the last round. So let's see how it goes.
The whole workout, and I mean I invested the time in the earlier round handstand walk, so I could just stay composed and try to take it in a bit too.
How do you feel about wearing a leader jersey?
Oh, it's special. Yeah, if you told a young 13-year-old kid who just started CrossFit that this is where it would be, I probably wouldn't have believed you till a few years later, we could say. But yeah, it's special, man. Been doing this a long time, and yeah. To wear that's going to be special, especially with my name on it. And I mean, it's sort of sad. This is only the first year that my family hasn't come over. But I know they're super proud of me, and yeah, I'm sure they're spewing that they didn't come. But hopefully we can make some more opportunities of that to come.
Awesome, congratulations.
Thank you.
I wish I was wearing it going into an event that I'd be better at, but I'll take it for a 1 rep max back squat. The leader jersey's pretty cool anyway, so it's a cool opportunity.
Did you think you were going to win this?
No. I felt quite sick from round 3, and I was just I really hope that Tia doesn't pick it up, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to not throw up. Yeah, no idea.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
You didn't see some people throw up.
It's a very midline workout, I'm not surprised.
Great job.
Thank you.
Well, I mentioned it was moving day, and that moving was a lot more than what I was expecting, and I think more than what most people were expecting. We're gonna start with the women, and the crowd got so hyped. It was so cool to be down there and hear just how excited everyone was for that race between Tia-Clair Toomey and Lucy Campbell, who, going into the event, I said to someone who was next to me, I think maybe Haley Adams can do well here, and she did do well. She came in second in the event, but I didn't expect Lucy Campbell to do as well as she did. I know that she's not the strongest athlete, it's a heavy deadlift, but maybe that axle bar for her, if she's got good grip strength, made a bigger difference. And she told me that she didn't expect to win this event, but she won the event. in a crazy fashion, right? Winning next to Tia-Clair Toomey is insane. And just listening to the way the crowd went nuts when Lucy pulled in front of Tia. And Lucy just kept it close the whole time. Most of the event, Lucy was actually behind Tia. She was just right behind her, right on her heels. And then at the very end, she took the lead. Well, the last round took the lead. And it was exciting. Really good race. And watching it, I'm watching, and Shane Orr was right next to me, Tia-Clair Toomey's husband and coach. And at one point on the handstand walk, when Lucy was quite a bit ahead of Tia, he's like, worry about Haley. And he actually said earlier in the event, even when Olivia Kerstetter was still in the race for second, third, he said, watch out for Haley. Olivia Kerstetter fell off. Haley did not. Haley ended up taking that second place finish. And those 4 points that Haley stole, those are the 4 points, the additional 4 points that Lucy Campbell needed to now be in first place overall. It's a race. And even last night with Tia being 6 points ahead, I'm like, she's just gonna win from here on out. She'll be in first, just create more separation. Tia-Clair Toomey will be wearing something other than the leader jersey going into event 5, which is the back squat event. And I don't think that's gonna be great for her or Lucy Campbell. I don't think anyone who's in the top 3 right now, I'm almost positive no one in the top 3 will win that event. It's just not great for Lucy Campbell, not great for Tia, and we'll talk about the rest of the leaderboard in just a second. But first, if we take a look at the event and how everyone did, you had Lucy Campbell in first, obviously. Haley Adams snuck in for that second place position. Tia-Clair Toomey, she got a no rep. And that's really what allowed Haley to get ahead of her on her second of 3 lengths in the final round of that handstand walk. Olivia Kerstetter, who was battling Haley for that third place position, ended up falling to 4th. Grace Walton, who was easily in first the entire second heat. No one was even challenging her. She finished in that 5th place position, so a good finish for Grace. And behind her in that heat was Brooke Wells, who was quite a bit of time, I think about almost 30 seconds behind Grace Walton, was in 6th place. And Arielle Loewen ended up finishing in 7th, which was a really great finish for her because it moved her quite a bit ahead in the overall standings. So first overall, Lucy Campbell, who is now 2 points ahead of Tia-Clair Toomey. Who would have thought? Lucy has literally won everything she's competed in this past year, 2025. I still don't expect her to win this, but fantastic year for Lucy Campbell so far. So impressive, especially coming back. She had a wrist injury. She went to the games one year, had a wrist injury, had to take off 2 seasons. And this is her first season back. I remember going into Wodapalooza, I said to keep an eye on her, but I didn't think she would win. And then this year going into the games, I picked her in the top 10, I believe 4th. But right now she's sitting in first. Crazy year for Lucy Campbell. Tia-Clair Toomey is in your 2nd place position. Don't say that very often. Lydia Fish has fallen to 3rd. She was in 2nd, and she was tied for points with Lucy Campbell. She's now 40 points behind Lucy Campbell. But I do think an 11th place finish on that workout is actually pretty good for her. That's a heavy barbell with the axle. She's a much smaller athlete. She's like tiny out there next to Tia, who's not a huge athlete herself. So I'm pretty impressed by Lydia Fish. And then in 4th, Arielle Loewen has moved herself up with a 7th place finish in this Albany Grip workout. Then Amy Kringle is still in 5th. 6th, Danielle Brandon. 7, Madeline Sturt. Olivia Kerstetter has moved herself up to 8th with that 2nd, 4th place finish in a row. Haley Adams is now in 9th in the top 10. And Miriam Van Roer is in your 10th place position. She finished 15th, middle of the pack. From what I've heard about Miriam, someone asked me more about her. She's done high rocks, she's done powerlifting, she's been doing CrossFit for a while, she's done well in the Open, she's won the Open before last year, but then also prior to this past 2025 year. So Miriam Van Roer, very fit, does lots of things, but this is her first time at the CrossFit Games. That's your top 10. Outside the top 10, we have Grace Walton. Alexis Raptis has moved herself up to 13th. Fee is in 14th. Brooke Wells is midway point at 15th. Abigail Domet is in 18th. She was feeling sick before the workout. I did see that. Like, she was nauseous, maybe just nerves. And then Hattie Canyo, after the workout, her stomach in midline was really bothering her, and she was hunched over at the finish line.
What's going on? Is she the lady that vomited before?
No.
Is you? Okay. No belly pain, just feeling sick, or belly pain?
I've had belly pain since yesterday.
Looked a little rough. That workout was rough. The aftermath of that workout, crazy. Let's go over to the men's side. And with what just happened on the women's side, it's easy to sort of forget what happened on the men's side an hour earlier, but we have a new male leader as well, and that is Jay Crouch. He won the Albany Grip Trip and did it in a way that was fairly dominant, although Kaylin Souza was pushing him throughout the entire workout, which I think really did help Jay. Really made Jay have to keep his, foot on that gas pedal and keep going. And everyone was suffering through this workout. But Jay had a really great finish. He was in 16:28, and Kaylin was 16:32, 4 seconds. That's not a lot of time. Jay had to just keep going and stay ahead, which allowed him to overtake Jayson Hopper, who is now your second place athlete, only 12 points out of first. He finished fourth in that workout, which is still a very solid finish, but because Jay and Kaylin were out doing their own thing, you kind of forgot about the people that were in third or fourth. They weren't really impacting that top score. Like, Jay finished in 16:28. Jayson was, like I said, fourth, but 17:22. So in fourth by quite a bit of time. In third place, we have Jeffrey Adler, who's moved his way up. He finished seventh, which isn't fantastic, but enough in this workout that really shook up the leaderboards on both sides of the competition. Justin Medeiros, your 2021, I believe, was the first games he won. 2021, 2022. Games winner is in fifth place overall. Roman Krennikov has fallen to sixth with that heavy workout. He finished 15th in that one. That's his worst finish of the weekend. Harry Lightfoot is in seventh place. He finished 12th in that workout. Not a great finish, his worst finish of the weekend, actually, but still enough to keep him solidly within that top 10. James Sprague had a third place finish, putting him in eighth. That is actually his best finish of the weekend, your 2024 game champ. And Dallin Pepper had a sixth place finish. We weren't looking at Dallin a whole lot during that workout, but sixth is tied for his best finish of the weekend and puts him within the top 10 again. In 10th is Kaylin Souza, who best finish of his weekend. He has a 6th, a 16th, a 19th, and a 2nd. That keeps him in the top 10, or puts him into the top 10. And Austin Hatfield, I believe he was in 11th beforehand, stays in 11th with a 5th place finish, which is solid in Albany Grip Trip. But I believe he was in the first heat, so just didn't see as much of him. Nick Matthews won that event in Heat 1. He's currently in 18th place. His first heat win was only good enough for 11th, not quite as good as we saw Grace Walton do. I believe hers was like a 5th or 6th place finish with a first heat win. The second heat of men was just that much better. Also further down the leaderboard, we have Colton Mertens. He had a 19th place finish in Albany Grip Trip. I just don't think this is his year. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make the climb up the leaderboard that he would need to be in the top 10. Event 5, back squat, coming up next.
bump I was going to get from the crowd a little bit. 570 felt the same as 400 did in the back. So I'm not sure how much we might have in the tank, but it felt way better on the floor.
And that was a new 1-rep max back squat PR for you, 570 pounds. I think you have those 100 points. A rough day one. How did you reset yourself mentally to come into the weekend?
Yeah, day one sucked, but I got to get my ass to work and start climbing up that leaderboard. 100 points on this one. We got 200 points available tonight, and we're going to go for broke.
All right, back squat is done, and I think a lot of that went the way we expected. So the men went first, and Colton Mertens won the event pretty handedly. I'm gonna look at the leaderboard based on the back squat event. So Colton hit 570, and second place hit 555. 15 pounds, quite a bit. And then there was another giant leap backwards towards the next third place athlete, and that was 515. So best score, 570, 555, 515. Those two athletes, Nick Matthew and Colton Mertens, really set themselves apart in that event. And it gave Colton a boost because he was sitting in, I believe, 20th before this event and is now in 15th. So 5 spots on one event, it's pretty good. You can't really ask for much more than that. So the overall for the men after the back squats, Jayson Hopper is back in first, and I thought Jayson would do a little bit better than Jay in this event, so Jayson didn't really relinquish that leader jersey for very long. Jayson in first, Jay Crouch in second. Justin Medeiros, he has a great squat. He's worked with power lifters. He looks really strong on the squat. I'm not surprised to see him getting a 5th place position in this with 505 and moving himself up to 3rd overall and definitely in the podium hunt. I mean, on the podium right now. Jayson Hopper has 428 points and Justin Medeiros has 392. So it's not a big separation, and we have to remember there are 2 scores in the next event, 2 100 points up for grabs. That can change things up again a lot, and we've seen things change frequently a lot. Roman Krennikov is now your 4th place athlete. Jeffrey Adler still sitting in 5th. Harry Lightfoot has moved himself up from 7th to 6th. Austin Hatfield made his way back into the top 10. He'll be in the final heat tonight. He is now in 7th place. Dallin Pepper still in about the same place at 8th. Ricky Garard has fallen down to 9th. He took a 23rd on that event. Strength like that, brute strength, has never been his strength, so that makes sense. We'll see how he does tonight. And James Sprague has fallen to 10th, but again, strength has never been his strength either, and he hit 465 for an 18th place on the lift. I mentioned Colton Mertens is now in 15th. Nick Matthew moved himself up to 13th, and Kalen Souza, I always forget to pronounce it. It's not Souza. He is in 12th place now. Let's go over to your women. I haven't even looked at this yet. Okay. This looks more like we'd expect the women's leaderboard to look. Like Tia is back on top, and she's got a healthy buffer. Tia did better in that event than I thought. I thought her strength may have taken more of a hit with all of the high rocks training, but she finished 4th overall, and there was a tie for 2nd, so she had the 3rd heaviest back squat, and she's so small compared to some of the athletes, so crazy to see Tia's strength and how much she's maintained that strength despite training for high rocks over the last year. Very impressed with Tia at that event. Very impressed to see, or very surprised to see Tia not wearing red and white, because that's usually her attire. She was in all black for this event. She is now in first again with 422 points, and 2nd is Lucy Campbell with 357. I am gonna say now, I might regret this, but I think that Tia will maintain the 1st place position throughout the rest of the games. That's my thought. But it was exciting to see that race for a bit, but I think it was a temporary thing, and I think when we look back at the weekend and the total scores at the end of the weekend, she'll have a healthy margin. That's my guess. So 2nd, Lucy Campbell, she's maintained that position. She took a 23rd place position on the back squat. We didn't expect her to do well there. Strength isn't her strength. Maddie Sturt in 3rd. Now, I said to multiple people, Maddie Sturt is stronger than people think. She's small, but she's strong. She finished 6th in the back squat. Super solid lift for her. And in 4th, Miriam Von Rohr, she finished first in the back squat, beating everyone by not a lot. She only beat by 5 points, but her lift looked so easy. Like she could have done more, but she was in the final heat. She knew she only needed 5 more pounds to win, and that's what she put on the bar. She squatted 360. Easy. Shocking. Very impressed by her. Well, shocking is probably an overstatement. She has done powerlifting before. She has a strong squat. It's not entirely surprising, but she's a smaller athlete, size-wise, height-wise, and she easily squatted that. 5th place overall is Olivia Kerstetter. She was 8th in the lift. I expected actually a little bit more from her. I expected her to be in a top 3 position in that. She was not, although I did hear her say in one of the Proven videos earlier this week before the game started that there are some athletes that can back squat more than her, and she knew that. Lydia Fish fell to 6th, finishing 27th in the back squat. Kind of what we expected. Likely her worst finish of the entire weekend, but still maintaining a top 10 position. Amy Kringle is now in 7th. She took a 17th on the back squat. Arielle Loewen, she's in 8th. Again, she took a 25th in the back squat. I did expect a little bit heavier from her, but this is more of where I expected to see Arielle Loewen this weekend. I put her in like 5th or 6th, but top 10 for sure. Annika Greer is in 9th. She took that 2nd place. I think she could have done more. I was filming Abigail Domet, who was squatting next to her, and as soon as Abigail racked her bar, I went to turn to Annika, and she was already half done with her lift. That's how easy her 355 was. Both 360 and 355, the winning lifts, looked easy, which is a little bit crazy when you think about it. Claudia Gluck is your 10th place athlete, rounding things out. Grace Walton is still in 11th. Brooke Wells has moved herself up into 12th. She has a chance of making it into the top 10 this weekend. Haley Adams is down to 15th. That's not a surprise. Danielle Brandon really struggled on the back squat, failing her first attempt at it. She is in 13th now. Fee is in 16th. Even further down, Alexis Raptis is in 23rd. Sort of surprising to see her there, but not surprising based on how this weekend has went so far. Unfortunate. Going into the weekend, no one would have expected her to be that far down the leaderboard, but based on what we've seen so far, yeah. That is event 5. And we have 6 and 7, a back-to-back event. All the stuff with the weighted vest, the barbell stuff, the biking, the burpees over the box. That'll be a good one. And 200 points, which could massively change things up.
Stand by.
Back in my hotel room to wrap up day 2 for all of you. And it's crazy that we only have one more day of the CrossFit Games. There are a lot of things I'm liking about this CrossFit Games. I will say my expectations for it were low, so that probably helps things. But one of the things I don't love is it only being 3 days. 3 days has been very common for semifinals. I know we had some semifinals this year that were 2 days, but 3 days is usually semifinals. The games is usually 4, sometimes even 5 days. So to have this happen and end so quickly, it's a little bit of a bummer. And it feels a little tiny bit less exciting with it ending more quickly. I don't know, but I don't love the 3 days. But we're almost done. That means we're almost done. That's why I don't love it. We're almost finished. One more of these. Makes me sad. Anyway, let's wrap up day 2, moving day of the CrossFit Games. And did we see movement? Yes, we saw a ton of movement. Is the top of the leaderboard any different than it was yesterday? No, but it did change during the day. We had lots of people wearing leader jerseys, but the people that came in with them ended the day with them again. Jayson Hopper is your current leader on the men's side. He was leading yesterday. He is back on top after losing that leader jersey to Jay Crouch. And even though Jay Crouch had a leader jersey at one point during this day, he is now no longer even in the top 3. But the leaderboard is tight, and with at least 300 more points tomorrow, at least, because you never know what Dave has up his sleeves, but probably just 3 more scores. I feel like this year they're being a little bit conservative with the games. That was my expectation going in, so not getting too crazy is not something that disappoints me, because when you have appropriate expectations, you don't get as disappointed. And I feel like I tempered my expectations. But a lot can still happen, because between 1st and 9th on the men's leaderboard is just 68 points. And we've seen events where people have come in and lost that many points to somebody, or someone's gained that many points. So there can still be a lot of shuffling, but Jayson Hopper impressing me. Jayson Hopper is your first place athlete with 539 points, just 10 points behind him. Ricky Garard, who battled his way up the leaderboard in the last 2 back-to-back events. That was throttle up and hammer down. We haven't really talked about those yet, but Jayson Hopper had a bigger lead, did not do very well in either of those events. A 17th and then an 8th. Those aren't exactly finishes that you're hoping for when you're looking to protect the leader jersey. Ricky Garard ended up moving up leaderboard quite a bit because he took a 2nd and a 1st. James Sprague also moved up leaderboard quite a bit. He finished in 3rd. He took a 1st on the first event, throttle up. Ricky finished 2nd, and then Sprague took a 3rd on the 2nd event, hammer down. In 4th, Justin Medeiros in the fight for the podium. He is just 8 points back on James Sprague. Like I said, lots of movement can still happen. Justin Medeiros has been pretty consistent. He started off with one of his worst finishes, a 12th on run, row, run, but he doesn't have that many bad finishes. He's been consistent. He's been very similar to the Justin Medeiros of old, the one who won the CrossFit Games twice and podium before that. A 12th, a 2nd, a 4th, a 9th, a 5th, a 13th, and a 10th. Just all solid finishes. Although I feel like I have to reroute my brain a little bit because we only have 30 athletes, so 13th is almost midway through the pack, but it's still a decent finish because everyone here is very good. Impressed by Justin Medeiros this weekend. He could end up back on the podium. Jay Crouch now sitting in 5th place, but he's just 2 points behind Justin Medeiros. Jay took very middle of the pack finishes on both those events, a 16th and a 12th. He was also hurt a little bit by the lift. Dallin Pepper is now your 6th place athlete. Again, just 5 points behind Jay Crouch. Roman Krennikov has fallen to 7. He had a 15th on one of those double event workouts. The first one, throttle up, wasn't great for him. Austin Hatfield now in 8th. He took a 5th and an 11th on those last 2 events. Solid, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to do enough to get onto the podium. And Jeffrey Adler just, I think, surprising us with his performances this weekend. On the lift, he looked a little disappointed. He failed one of his lifts, then had to do a safe lift for his final lift. And he got a 9th on throttle up. That's okay. But then he got a 14th on hammer down, and he just needed more. When you had guys like Ricky Garard and James Sprague who smashed it and were fighting with him for points, they beat you. They beat you out. And now they're in podium contention and you're on the outside looking in a little bit. 68 points out of 1st, a little closer to the podium. And then we round out your top 10 with Harry Lightfoot, who has sort of impressed me all weekend. Maybe he has bigger aspirations than top 10, but I think top 10 is great for him this year in this field. If we scroll down a little bit farther, Colton Mertens, who I'd picked 10th at the end of the games, in my original predictions for him to be 10th at the end of the games. He is in 11th. So looking pretty solid for Colton Mertens to possibly end up in the top 10 at the end of this competition. He had some rough events, but he also had some really good ones. He had a first place in the lift, 570, easy squat for him. And then he had a second place in the final event of the day, hammer down. And I think those are the main athletes on the men's side that we're looking at to contend for the top of the leaderboard and definitely to contend for top 10. There are some people just outside of the top 10 that maybe have a shot. Once we get beyond Colton Mertens at 12th, there's a big drop off. So Colton Mertens has 395 points and Callum Clements has 329. So I think those 11 are really battling it out for the top spots on the leaderboard. Heading over to the women's side, and Tia-Clair Toomey continues to be at the top of the leaderboard. Okay, I forgot to say this, but I don't feel like setting up the camera again, so we're just going to deal with this setup. Tia-Clair Toomey looked human today. There were moments where she looked like she was struggling in that workout with the deadlifts and the handstand walking and the running. It looks like Lucy Campbell pushed her to a point where she had to make decisions that were mistakes. Like she got a no rep on the handstand walk because she went too soon. And usually no one in the field can push her to that point. She looked a little bit broken. She was sitting on the floor, looked a little rattled to me. But she didn't really extend her gap very much. So she lost the leader jersey to Lucy Campbell. She took it back with a pretty dominant performance on that squat. Tia finishing in 4th, Lucy finishing in 23rd. So Tia gained a ton of points on her. But then on throttle up and hammer down, Tia-Clair Toomey got 3rd and 2nd, and Lucy got 5th and 1st. So while Tia picked up a little bit of points to create a little more separation, it is very tiny. And Lucy did win one of those events and is going to win another $3,000. And she is in 2nd. She is holding down that 2nd place position with a good point spread. She has a very good chance of ending up on the podium. The points are more spread out here on the women's side now, although we had some shaking up on the leaderboard today. Tia-Clair Toomey has 610, Lucy Campbell at 541, and then behind her is Arielle Loewen at 456. But there are some people, a lot of people actually, in the fight for that 3rd place podium position. And arguably stuff could happen with Lucy and Tia, but they're both looking great to finish on the podium. Tia to repeat for the 8th time as the winner of the CrossFit Games. Behind Arielle Loewen is Miriam Van Roer, who has just been an impressive athlete all weekend. She won the Open last year and this year. And when she won the Open last year, I think a lot of people questioned, like, who is this woman, this High Rocks woman? She's done powerlifting. She is clearly very, very fit to be in the battle for the podium here. Only 8 points behind Arielle Loewen. And just 1 point behind her, Amy Kringle, definitely in the podium fight. Madeline Sturt is just 4 points behind Amy Kringle. And then Olivia Kerstetter in 7th is just 7 points behind Madeline Sturt. Tight, tight, tight for those last positions. Easily could shuffle up that 3rd place position. A little bit more difficult for 1st and 2nd, but there definitely still could be some shuffling. But this 3rd place position, that's going to be a dogfight. In 8th, we have Claudia Gluck. She's just 4 points behind Olivia Kerstetter. And then Danielle Brandon, who's a little bit farther out. She is 20 points behind Claudia Gluck. And that puts her like 44 points behind the 3rd place position. But it is doable with the right event. I just don't know if Danielle's going to get it. 10th, we've got Lucy McGonigal, who's a rookie, youngest athlete in the field. Super impressive placement from her, although I don't think she'll be battling for the podium. 376 is her points. Right behind her, Annika Greer at 369. And Lydia Fish did fall quite a bit. She finished in 12th, although she knew the back squat was not going to be her thing. She didn't finish last in it, though. She finished 27th in it, and then she did 20th and a 19th. I think those big machines and that power output with a smaller athlete are just difficult things to compete with when you've got bigger, stronger, heavier athletes. But a really impressive first weekend from Lydia Fish, first time at the games. Abigail Doman is in 13th, Fee Sagafi is in 14th, Haley Adams in 15th, Brooke Wells in 16th, Alexis Raptis in 17th.
I had a pretty bad back injury like 3 weeks ago, or actually 4 weeks ago now. So, like, I didn't even run until this week. For the first time, I didn't deadlift until 2 days before this competition started.
What happened?
I herniated a disc in my back.
A bunch of games veterans in that bunch of athletes from 13th through 17th. Some names that are surprising to see there. But I think that's it for the really surprising athletes that are not performing as we'd expect. This has been a fun weekend. There's a lot of surprises on the leaderboard. Not as much on the men's side. Where people are is surprising on the men's side, but I think who we expected to see in the top 10, the majority of those men are in the top 10. On the women's side, there's a lot of surprises, but the top looks like it's going to continue to be Tia-Clair Toomey. We have one more day, and I'm excited to be there and to bring you another wrap-up video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I am always trying to grow this channel, continue to get media access to do these things for you in the future, and I try to make content all year round, even when the games are not happening. So if you're interested in more CrossFit content, subscribe. I appreciate you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.